Okay, so this is a little mini gang from Full Stack again, and we're gonna have a go at Excel BI Challenge 31. Um, all right, we'll pause. We'll be back in an instant on the recording, and then we'll see how we've all done. Okay, that also involves me knowing how to pause a recording. There we go. All right, we're back. So we can go around. Sarah, how'd you find that?
Yeah, no, that was fine. As usual, not able to do it in one cell, but added a few extra lines and got the answer pretty quickly.
Cool. Do you want to share, and we can have a look at yours first?
Yep. So I added
Nice.
these two helper columns where I just took the month from each of the dates, and then I created a little table to XLOOKUP to get the quarter,
Nice.
and then I did a sum ifs.
Yeah, cool. Cool. I think that's exactly what I would have done if I was like breaking it out into steps.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, do you wanna, if you stop sharing, I'll share. I was quite happy with that actually. So, um, I went on a little journey that Jean, I think you'll be proud of me for this one.
Okay.
Um, so I solved it here with group by. So I pulled out the kind of the dates and the revenues as kind of starting variables. Pulled out the quarter using the kind of -1 + 1 trick with something like int that just gives me the sequence of um, the numbers, which actually in the end wasn't as helpful as I hoped it would be. Did a group by, so I literally, I couldn't think of anything more sophisticated to do than just do a sequence of 1 to 4. I guess I could have done a unique on the quarters. But I pulled out a sequence and then I did a group by,
You're not
uh,
using the sequence.
what's that?
You're not using the sequence, are you? No.
Oh, am I not?
No,
Why not?
what are you doing the
Brilliant.
sequence for? Okay.
That's amazing. Hang on, let's test that theory out. That's great if I didn't. No, no, I probably didn't actually, because I think I tried to do something else and then I switched to a group by. So that's
Hmm.
brilliant. Ignore my sequence. Didn't need that. So I used a group by then to just group the revenues by quarter, and I used index with column 2 to just pull out the numbers. Again, I'm sure there's a better way of doing it than that.
Mhm.
Uh, I very manually created a list of the 4 quarter names, and I just H stacked the two together to give me the output. Um, so it kind of works. I'm sure there's better ways to do it. The bit that I think you'll like, Jean, because hopefully it shows a bit of progress in my head, was I had a bit of extra time. So I
Nice.
was trying to think of how could I avoid this? How could I do it another way? And I wanted to try and use a map. Um, so I got the unique quarter list,
Hmm.
and then I tried to use a map and I tried to plug it in with a sum ifs,
Hmm.
and it hit a calc error.
Do
But
you know why?
yeah, because the sum ifs doesn't like an array, right?
But technically, it's not an array. Rest is not an array, it's still a range. Rest, like you defined rest as B2 to B20, and you didn't change anything. So rest is now a range. But the problem is rest is dates and quarters is a quarter, so it doesn't match. Quarters is a
Oh,
number between 1 to 4, and dates, your dates are number probably higher than 40,000.
oh, interesting. So I got to a solve, but not for the right reason. So
Mhm.
that's really interesting. Okay, so I need to just make a note of that mentally. I'm referencing revs. Revs is a range, so that would have worked.
You can try to, oh God, how do you write it? Give me a second. Instead of the quarters, you could remove quarters and start with, oh God, how do you do it? I think you can just enter text as a date. You could
It's this, isn't it? I don't know, see, I did think that would work because the unique quarters is the 1, 2, 3, 4.
exactly,
I was
but
playing around here, so I could actually get rid of that. This is what
mhm,
I was trying to do this first,
mhm.
but it still didn't work.
Now you don't have defined Q anymore. Like the problem is refs and quarters would have to have the same size, and both have to have a range. So technically you were wrong. Refs is a range, but quarters isn't a range. And
Sorry. Yes.
yes,
Okay.
exactly.
That's yeah,
But even if
gotcha.
it would be a range, it wouldn't. Well, okay, of course it would work then. True. Okay, sorry. Of
I
course.
think it would,
You're
wouldn't it?
right.
Because if I
Yes,
put so
yes,
quarters is the
you're right.
same size as revs.
Yes,
Sorry, I misspoke earlier. So it's the quarters
exactly.
element
Yes,
that's an array, and that's
yes,
why sum ifs doesn't work.
exactly, exactly.
Yes. Okay, cool. But I solved it.
True.
So I remembered what you showed me before, which was you can just do like a sum. So I don't know whether this is the
Nice.
best way to do it, but I just did sum the revs times the
The
quarter
Boolean, nice.
equals
Perfect.
Q. And then I did a similar thing. I listed the names, H stacked them, but I'm pretty chuffed with that because I actually remembered what you showed me a few weeks ago.
Nice, yeah. That looks good. Like you're right with the range part. So if it would have been a cell reference for the quarters, it would have worked. You're right.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm that's about as advanced as I've ever managed to go.
So
Pretty chuffed with that.
I made two screenshots there. I will show you how you could have maybe
Done
made
it
it a
better.
bit not better,
Please do.
easier.
Yeah, yeah. Please
I think
do.
I can just share the whole screen. Let's see. Probably easier. Um, does it work? Do you see something?
It's coming. Yeah, maybe if you zoom in a bit.
Okay, so let's start with the easiest one. I thought the pivot table is
Yeah,
probably a nice
nice.
solution because you can just go right click and group, and then you don't have to know how to calculate quarters. Because Sarah, you didn't calculate them, right? You created a table. Technically, Giles showed one way on how to calculate the quarter. But if you don't know that, you can also just use a pivot table, and with dates,
Nice.
you have the option to group, and then you pretty much also have the same thing. Maybe before that, now let's go here. So this was your first function. Like, it's good. One thing you can do is you don't have to use index 2 technically, because let's just do it. So oh God, I can't write dates. A2 to A20. Then we have refs. It's B2 to B20. So for quarters, it works, right? The way you do it. Quarters, you can just int and then you take -1 divided by 3, but you can also round up. For example, the months divided, dates divided by 3. And if you round
Nice.
that up without anything, so let's give that also. That also works.
Cool.
So
That's
in this
great.
case, it's probably more or less the same len, but you don't have to, yeah, you don't have to add one.
Yeah.
And now the part which you made probably more complicated than necessary in this case, your group by. If you just group by. Now your quarters, and then you have your refs, and then a sum, and you did it like that, right? So, sorry, some like that. So this already works, right? So pretty much the
Yeah.
same thing. What you did, you took that and then you created the first column manually. But what you also could just do, since you are not calculating with quarters, you could also just do something like that, since it's just the area which you group over, right? So pretty much you're done.
Oh, that's
Yes.
nice.
You are calculating with the values. You're not calculating with the row fields. The row fields group by pretty much does a unique on your row fields, and then for each of them, it calculates the value with the function you give. So this doesn't have to be a number. So you can just concatenate your quarter with a Q, and you're pretty much done. That saves you the index, the group names, and also the H stack part.
That's awesome. Okay. I have a feeling Elliot showed us that as well in one of our sessions, but I obviously forgot it.
Well,
That's great.
good. So that was the first one, and for the second one, yeah, so you were of course right. So what I meant was you could do something like some ifs, like I'm not doing it for everything now, but you could sum this when this, well, since everything is in 2022, right? So you could technically do something like if it's less than date of 2022 for 1, right? So that would be, if you check, it would be the right answer.
Yeah.
Now, technically, we can do, now I have to think, probably it's, I would have to make 2 criteria, I think, because I can't just do smaller than this, because now it would be the sum of them, right?
Yeah.
But pretty much that's also an option if you don't want to calculate the quarter. You can go with some ifs. But yeah, pretty much for me, I did that as well. Like it's the same thing we did here. But of course, I also, like the first time I overcomplicated, but with this if trick, I can pretty much this lets me H stack stuff without actually H stacking. So let's say as an example, you have 25 and sequence 5, and you want to H stack both of them. If you H stack them, you receive this, which is not really good because now if I want to repeat 25, I would have to do something like ifna and then again, go to this. Oh, that was the wrong one. Sorry. Like that. Yes. But if you use if, like pretty much, then it's again broadcasting. So I can say if 1, 0, pretty much 1 gets evaluated to true and this gets evaluated to false. So meaning now I can do a different thing for both of the sides of the if argument. So pretty much like that, and you are broadcasted with just a way shorter form. Well, way shorter is, it's not, but it's easier. At least
And
I think so.
how did you apply that to the actual
Mm-hmm.
challenge? That's genius. I'm trying to think of how
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to remember that.
Yeah. So like the first thing was I just grouped by, and in order to get a Q in front of that, but not of that, I said if, like pretty much if I'd say just if 1 \0, then I can say true and false. So you see now the true part gets evaluated for the left side and false for the second. So what I now said is I'll define z as a variable because I had to use it twice. So I said let a, whatever. And now I just say here I want to have a, right? So if I do it like that, now I have my values. And for the first part, I said concatenate q and a. And now I could concatenate just the left side.
So you're literally forcing that manually to just apply it to the left-hand column
Yeah,
because you're doing 1 dash
exactly.
0.
Exactly. But
Wow.
that again
Okay.
is not necessary because you could have done it this way. You can just concatenate in the group by row fields and you don't
Yeah.
have to have all the fun. So I think this is what I did here. So probably that's the shortest option, at least I found probably. So just concatenating the roundup, then with your values and you just sum. Okay, it's the same thing. Like another calculation um, for quarter, like there are a lot of tricks with calculating, right? So if you want, for example, the sequence of the 12 months, you can do sequence 12 times 28. And if you now text this with I think it's large M for me, you get the month. Okay, so they are in German because my system language is in German, sorry. So EN, something like that. Now you have your months. So that's probably the fastest way to get a sequence of months as a word, right? So you can also do something with the months and with the quarter. So instead of just taking the months and then divide by 3 and round up, you can also do months and times that by 10, and now your months again. And if you check pretty much, so like that, right? So if I do that, so I should probably do standard format. I don't know the shortcut for standard format in English. Okay, I also don't know how to, oh my God. Okay, so pretty much when we check, right, so if you have your date now, if I format this as a date, you can see, okay, the year doesn't matter. But now, since I took the months from those 3, and if I times by 10, I'm still for everything in March, because 3 times 10 is 30, I'm still in January. So if I take the months again, I get the quarter. And that works for every month. So whenever you want a quarter, you can either do it like we did before, or you take the month times 10 and again take the month.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get what you've done. That's very clever.
Yeah, then we have like, if you don't want to do normal rounding, you can of course do other rounding, but technically it's all the same, right? You somehow have to get to a number. In this case, instead of rounding up, I said ceiling, which is the same. So makes no sense. Then I did the same thing you did. Instead of using group by, also get the quarter, unique quarter, and then I H stack my quarters and the sum, the same way you did with the
Okay.
Boolean logic, right? So you have your numbers, and if this evaluates to true, so if you're on the count quarter, it's true, which is 1, so you get the value, otherwise it's 0, so it gets cancelled out. And then I have this part, again, it's the same thing, just that in this case, instead of using the months 10 and then again times, I use text function to give me the months. So it's pretty much the same option, but I can just directly enter the Q and the format string. But yeah, that's more or less it. Yeah, this is the same. Yeah, but
Awesome.
yeah, the thing
Yeah.
is, like, for some problems, there are probably a lot of options. Here, you somehow have to get to the quarter. There are not that many options, and then it's just how you aggregate them. But
That's
yeah.
really clever. Your times the month by 10 and then month it to get essentially the quarters back. I love that. Very cool. I've got to run off, unfortunately, but do you mind sharing the files in the chat, and then
Yeah.
I'll just download them both, and then I can add them all our files when I release this. But yeah, again, I think that's a really cool example of like how many ways you can approach a problem, which is great.
Oh, I have to close it. And...
All right, I'll stop the recording there. Thanks for watching, everyone.